You know, Kurt, before we start today, I've been watching these Mandalorian episodes, man. It's just bringing something out of me, man. I gotta let it go, man. I gotta let it go.
Where's that music coming from?
1, 2, 3. He rocks with the Mando all day long, hopping and bopping and singing his song. All the little girls in Tatooine love to hear the baby go beep, beep, beep. Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda.
Beep, beep.
Go, Baby Yoda, cause you really gonna rock tonight. Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of the Binge List. On this episode of the Binge List, if you haven't guessed it, we're talking about the Mandalorian. Now, you've already did a first look on the Mandalorian, did you not?
Yeah, first and second episode.
So today we are going to be covering episodes 3, 4, and 5. And we're just going to do a basic walkthrough of what happens in these episodes and our thoughts on that.
We really should be doing every episode. This show is going to be a big hit. Maybe not Game of Thrones big, but it's going to be big.
Well, I'm enjoying it. And drop a comment down below on whether you want to see us do 2 or 3 episodes at a time, or if you want us to cover comprehensively each episode as they come out. We really need to hear comments from you guys so we know what kind of content to provide you. So, with that being said, let's hop into Chapter 3.
So, Chapter 3 is kind of like, it was kind of like the third act of that followed those first 2 episodes, because he returns with the baby Yoda. He reluctantly turns the baby. We start the episode there on the ship, and the baby's playing with one of the little levers in the ship.
Yeah,
and he breaks off the top of it.
Just being a toddler into everything.
So that's how it starts, and then he delivers the baby, and he actually asks the client what's going to happen to him. And I guess if you're part of the Bounty Hunter Guild, you're not supposed to ask that.
No, you're not.
So he kind of upsets the client. But he leaves with his Beskar. He gets like a stack of Beskar. And Beskar is this
alloy. We
finally figured out what kind of armor. Because, this happens in another episode. You see it in the 5th episode. This is actually the armor that blocks blasters.
Right.
Because for some reason, Stormtroopers don't have this armor. I always wondered watching Star Wars when the Stormtroopers got shot. I'm like, why do they die when they got all this armor?
Yeah, you could really dig deep into that and kind of mess up the whole plot of Star Wars, because, if they were the powers that be, why wouldn't they have better armor? And
I mean, the Beskar that he's given by the client has an Imperial stamp on it.
Right.
So obviously they have lots of this stuff. So why aren't they supplying it to their Stormtroopers?
Well,
but he gets it, and he looks wonderful with the new armor, and everybody's jealous of him. He goes to his old Mandalorian place. And they make him, they cast
the armorer. The armorer is kind of strange to me, and you tell me that the armorer is almost like the high priest or high priestess of the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
The armorer, the person that makes the armor, has the final say on what goes on with the Mandalorians. Like I think it was episode 2 where his fellow Mandalorians were starting to push back at him a little bit.
Yeah.
And the armor says, no, we're not going to do that,
There's also a deep cut in that scene. Did you notice?
I probably missed it.
In Empire Strikes Back, when Lando tells his residents to evacuate, there's this scene where this black guy is running down the hallway with what looks like an ice cream. You remember those old ice cream makers back in the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
He's holding one of those. And people have always made fun of that scene. I'll probably put up the clip.
Yeah, right here.
But for years, Star Wars fans had wondered what was in that, or whether it was actually an ice cream maker. If you notice in that episode, when the client gives him the Beskar, it's in that ice cream maker.
Okay.
Go back and watch the episode.
I will,
It's the same little container that guy was, and when he opens it, you finally find out what this thing is for. It's basically to hold Beskar.
Beskar, yeah. It's like
So that was a little they have a lot of deep cuts like that. John Favreau or somebody, whoever's assisting him, or maybe he just knows, maybe he's a big Star Wars fan, but he has all these deep cuts in the show.
I think this is important in the storytelling and tying this new series. They've really outdone themselves in making it feel like the old Star Wars saga. You know, like using puppets instead of CG.
Right.
You know, the settings, the sounds of the blasters are the same. You know, these are all things that they're little things, but they're important in creating cohesion between the old saga, the Star Wars we're used to. That was one of the complaints on like the episodes that were supposed to be prior to the originals that were released, is that
The prequels?
yeah, the prequels, when they were released, that the CG and the acting and the sets were all so much more advanced,
Then
technically advanced than the originals, and it created a divide, especially when these things were supposed to be happening prior to what happened in Episode 4 and beyond. So I think they've done an incredible job of just enough. I was telling somebody at work, there's just enough cheesiness to make it believable. You know, that it comes from that same era.
Yeah, but I gotta put my critical hat on. Now, I've already discussed a little bit of the narrative problems I have, and it's starting to show a little bit of cracks. And I think the first cracks were in. Okay, so let me just finish off this episode. He, of course, gets on his aircraft after getting the Beskar, and he's taking off, and he finds that little piece that Baby Yoda broke off, and he feels guilt. And it's wonderful how he can show you what he's feeling, and you can't even see his face.
What is the actor's name that plays
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal, yeah.
You think? Let me
I
ask
like
you this:
him, man.
you think they're ever gonna show his face? It's unusual that they haven't shown his face in 5 episodes.
Dude, I mean, if he takes his helmet off, he can never put it back on again.
And see, that's something that they discuss in the next episode that we. So anyway, let's finish this episode back. He goes back, and he infiltrates this place.
He Yoda naps.
Yeah, and he kills all the stormtroopers. He kills like 10 stormtroopers.
Which is
poor guys.
Yeah.
I felt bad for those stormtroopers. They're in this ratty armor. And he just kills them all. But they're doing some kind of experiments or something. They're doing something creepy with the Yoda.
And this is all part of the canon, right? Of what's going to happen throughout this series. Is there's something that this Baby Yoda has that, and I think my opinion is that it's some way of excreting the Force from the Yoda.
Maybe.
You know.
That's why I say I think he's like a clone of. Sorry, there's a fly or something. I always thought he was a gnat, clone of Yoda or something. But we haven't been. It hasn't been revealed. So one thing that almost pissed me off, he shoots Carl Weathers. I was like, they always kill the black guy. But then he gets up. He had some Beskar that he got from the client, I think.
Yeah, his share,
him.
Yeah.
And the Beskar had. So Carl Weathers is going to be back, is what they're pretty much saying with that scene.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And at the very end of the episode, all the Mandalorians, he's all these bounty hunters are trying to get him because he has the baby, and all the Mandalorians come to save him at the last minute. So some great things happened in this episode. And I was like, yeah, more of that. And then we get to chapter 4, which is the next episode, Sanctuary, and almost nothing.
Well, chapter 4, it had a pretty decent action sequence at the end of it.
Yeah, but did you notice it was pretty much a remake of Seven Samurai?
Yeah.
I mean, it was basically, and that's okay. The original Star Wars was based on Hidden Fortress, which was a Akira Kurosawa a movie, because George Lucas was a big fan of Kurosawa.
Right.
But so the fact that they copied Seven Samurai, because in Seven Samurai, these villagers find out that these bandits are going to come back during the harvest and take all their crops.
Yep.
So they hire Seven Samurai to protect the village. And the Seven Samurai teach the villagers how to fight. And they set up barriers and stuff.
Which
and
is a carbon copy of this episode.
Yeah, and that's the same thing happens, except in this episode, there's only 2 samurai. There's Mando, because we still don't know his name. But
from here forth, we're going to refer to him as Mando, as the characters in the series refer to him.
So he meets somebody in a bar. It's Gina Carano, the former UFC.
Beef, dude. That chick is.
She can't act worth it.
Yeah, but she's like. It was believable that she could kick Mando's ass.
That's part believable, but there was a couple of scenes where she made this face, and I was like, she's playing a character called Cara Dunn.
I wonder where they found her at. If she was like WWE or something.
No, she was UFC.
UFC, okay. Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey will be on episode 7.
Oh my gosh, she's really. I mean, compared to Ronda Rousey now, she's Meryl Streep. Because Ronda Rousey can't even say a sentence without you cringing. At least she was passable in this episode.
Believable.
But there was, like I said, there was a couple times where her lack of acting experience was just grating.
Well, I don't believe that she is going to be a recurring character on this either.
I think she is.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think she is.
You think she'll pop up later on?
Later, I think she will.
So we're gonna say that episode 4 was a little lackluster.
Well, there's a couple more things I want to say about it. It was directed by, ding ding ding, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Okay.
You remember who that is?
Nope.
Ron Howard's daughter. Remember, we talked about this before. So there's a little nepotism and I looked at her directing credits. This is the first real directing job she's had. She's directed some shorts, but as far as television episodes, movies, this is her first one, and it's all because she's Ron Howard's daughter. Ron Howard, in case you don't remember, is the guy who directed Solo.
I remember who Ron Howard is.
Opie.
I like Ron Howard.
Opie Cunningham.
Opie, Ron Howard has made some good films, and then he's made The Grinch. I mean, which was not a bad film. It's just he went from Backdraft. I think he did Backdraft, or what's another big Ron Howard film?
What's that boxing movie he did? Cinderella Man.
The Cinderella Man. And he goes from that
A Beautiful Mind.
A Beautiful Mind, and then he makes The Grinch, which again, I'm not saying The Grinch is bad. I think The Grinch is a great movie.
Well, I'm not making a big deal, but I just thought it was kind of interesting that she directed this episode. So it's like they're really. Somebody said that I think Patrice O'Neal said that Hollywood is incestuous. Like when you go into the industry, you always find people that have fathers or mothers that are working in the business.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the easiest way to get in.
The parents get their kids in.
Because it's so hard to get in anyway, you have to have some kind of in, which I didn't have when I was in Los Angeles. But that's neither here or there. But
you're going to get in via YouTube way.
Well, we'll see. The noteworthy thing about this episode is we find out that they never take their helmets off, the Mandalorians, unless they're alone. So that makes a little bit more sense than just never, because I think they asked him in the first episode if he had ever taken his helmet off. And that was kind of weird to me because if you remember, Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones takes off his helmet all the freaking time in front of everybody.
Yeah, but he's probably like ostracized from the actual
They need to explain.
Mandalorian guild.
That's what I kind of figured. Maybe it was something like, or maybe they just making it up as they go along, like they do everything.
Well, yeah.
Because you know the armor that the Mandalorian's actually wearing. You know, when they created that armor, was supposed to be for an elite stormtrooper they were going to introduce in Empire Strikes Back. And at the last minute, George Lucas says, "Nah, I'm going to use this for something else." He made this bounty hunter.
Which it poses the question of why wasn't there elite stormtroopers that had this Beskar armor? You know?
Yeah. Well, but that was, like I said, this all this stuff is being made up as they go on. This Mandalorian stuff is something that happened, I think, after the fact when Boba Fett became so popular with the fans.
Right.
I think George Lucas created this whole type of culture with the Mandalorians, but he didn't. I don't think he really explained it. Now it's being explained.
Yeah,
by Jon Favreau.
I mean, again, this whole series of Mandalorian is side stories explaining things that were just barely scraped over in the original movies. Like Yoda being the only one of his kind, and the Mandalorian, telling the story and the history of them. So, and honestly, Star Wars can do this for 20 years, telling side stories.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, this is an interesting take on a side note, but we can't get through chapter 4 without mentioning this band of whatever they are, guys that are invading these farmers' land.
Yeah.
They have they
look like orcs.
Yeah, they look like, what they look like to me? They look like bulldogs in the face.
But for some reason, when I first saw them, I was like, "Are those orcs?" And I had to stop the. I was like, "Did I turn on the wrong show?" or something? I was like,
"No, you're right. They do resemble orcs, which orcs resemble bulldogs in the face."
Yeah.
But when I looked close up to the face, it looked to me like they were trying to be like dog people.
And they left that whole thing. They have a ATST, which is an all-terrain scout transport.
Yeah.
Also known as a chicken walker.
And they don't go into a lot of explanation of how these dog people ended up with this thing. But I imagine...
And they didn't need to.
No, really. I imagine in my mind it was like, well, this is a war-torn universe that, the Empire falls and there's all this equipment. So there's going to be shady characters out there selling it off, surplus, military surplus stuff. And this group...
I like that idea.
And this group just had the money because they stole so much, they were able to buy one.
Or maybe they stole it.
Or maybe they stole it. Maybe it was there as a way of controlling the population of that planet.
Yeah, the Empire left that planet and
they just left. Like that happened in World War II, man. Where after World War II, man, once everything calmed down and everybody went back home, they left equipment everywhere.
Yeah, I can see that. So, and I also want to mention there was an actress named Julia Jones playing Omera. She offered Mandalorian,
take your mask off and stay here.
Yeah, which I would have done. Did you see that woman? I would have done it in a heartbeat. She tries to take his
shrimp and
she tries to take his helmet off. He's like, nah.
I think he considered it for a minute.
He considered it very hard.
And I think that he might have even reconsidered it after what happened at the end where one of the bounty hunters tracked the Baby Yoda down. So and then he realized, well, this Baby Yoda here is going to cause problems for these people. And he didn't want to see anything happen to them. So the only feasible thing to do was to take Baby Yoda and leave. So that's how each episode ends, I believe, is he's back in space, flying to somewhere else.
But I have to mention the cracks start the show with this episode. One thing I don't really understand, and I know they're doing it just from narrative purposes, is why he keeps walking everywhere when he has a ship. Like when he saves Baby Yoda, why did he just fly the ship there and just shoot everybody with the ship?
Oh, see, I didn't think about that.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, that's true.
But if he hadn't parked it somewhere and just walked there, and why is he walking? Why doesn't he have some kind of transport aboard the ship like a speeder? Why did he have to get these dewbacks or whatever that creature was in the was that first or second episode?
Well, I guess that's for substance.
But I know why they did it because the show would go by too fast if he just flew everywhere. But also you think about it, the what's those little guys? The Jawas wasn't a guy that ship if he had just been flying it.
Yeah,
and why doesn't it have some kind of defense mechanism to keep that from happening? So all this stuff is all these little cracks are starting to appear. And because in his next episode, he starts the episode starts, somebody's chasing him. And my other thing is that hasn't really been explained. How do these fobs work? How do they track people with the fobs? Are they tracking people's DNA? I mean,
it's got to be something of that nature, some kind of,
because they haven't really explained that.
It's not like a beacon or an implant was put in whoever the target is.
Yeah, but these people always end up finding him. So it's got to be something. How does that work though? They need to explain that.
I mean, we talk about cracks,
and they do that for narrative purposes. They got to have him in constant danger. So that's why is he in constant danger when he's on this planet in the middle of nowhere? Oh well, they have fobs where they could track you anywhere. So it's like, well, I'm starting to. If you stop and think about this too much, it's like it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, which I try not to do.
I mean, that's the thing. There's so much action in these episodes that you kind of like, let me just watch them shoot people.
Well, and again, and we talked about this in our last video, that our job here is to find the entertainment value in this series. It's entertaining. If you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to find it even more entertaining because they're talking about things you know about. They're expanding on questions you may have had from the original movies, and like I mentioned before, they've done a really good job of making this feel like it's from that same universe. So without tearing it apart and finding all the cracks in it, you will enjoy. I think you will enjoy just becoming involved in this.
Yeah. Well, this chapter 5 was complete fan service because he goes to Tatooine. I'm like, how small is this universe? Everybody always ends up in Tatooine.
It's the hub, man.
He flies in. It's an outer rim planet, so it really shouldn't be that important. But
true.
But he flies in. And he goes to Mos Eisley, and he has some kind of fuel leak. So at least in this episode, they kind of explain why he's not flying the ship around everywhere.
Right.
But at the same time, he lands, and the bay he lands in is being run by this lady called Pele Mato, played by Amy Sedaris, and the droids, she has a bunch of droids that run up to the ship, and he refuses to let the droids work on the ship. Why? I don't understand his problem with droids.
That's got to be a plot point that's going to be revealed later on in the series.
Because his ship obviously needs some work, and droids would be the best thing to work on it. But he won't even let them touch his ship.
Yeah, that's probably something that's going to be revealed later on in the series. What his issue is with droid, because he said it in what was it, the first one, when that droid bounty hunter shows up at the same target, and he's like, "Oh, I hate droids."
Yeah.
You know, so.
But a lot of people in Star Wars hate droids, and I always thought it was because they're pretty much slaves, and it'd be the same disdain like Southerners had for slaves back in the day. Is the same type of social construct.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but that
Because you remember when Luke goes into the bar, they said, your droids have to stay outside. Like the guy's like offended that the droids are even coming in his place. Right?
Yeah.
And Mando goes to the same, this is what was so funny about this episode. Mando goes to that same cantina that Luke went to, and who's the bartender? A droid. So something has changed.
Oh yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. One thing I also noticed about this episode, there wasn't a lot of aliens. Everybody he interacted with in this episode was human.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, are they trying to save money or what? And even in the cantina scene, there wasn't a lot of patrons in there. You know what I'm saying? Not like in Star Wars where it was full of aliens. So I was kind of disappointed with that.
Yeah, that does seem like they were trying to cut costs.
Because see, they had a lot of CGI in this episode. They had the whole, dogfight in space at the beginning.
Right.
And then later, well, what happens in this episode is he meets up with this bounty hunter who's trying to get into the guild. And he has some kind of hot prospect in the desert. And Mando needs money because he needs to get his ship fixed. And he needs to pay for this lady's watching that owns the hangar is watching Baby Yoda. So he's got to pay her for that, for babysitting. So he needs to make some money fast. So he teams up with this bounty hunter named Toro Calican, played by Jake Cannavale, who's also the son of a famous actor. But everybody was human, and except for the Tusken Raiders. That was probably my favorite scene where they meet up with
the Tusken Raiders, yeah.
Tusken Raiders, and he's negotiating with them with hand signals and stuff.
Yeah. I think that what'd you say the guy's name, the other bounty hunter, the young one?
Toro Calican.
All right, so Toro Calican was like his whole purpose was he's trying to get his way into the guild, the bounty hunters guild, and he obviously didn't know who Mando was and that he had done what he'd done until they find the target. Mm-hmm. And the target, do you remember who the target was played by?
Ming Na Wen.
And we've seen her a lot in like television.
Yeah, she was on ER, I think.
Well, I believe she was on ER, yeah.
She playing a character called Fennec Shand. And she's supposed to be this badass assassin who worked for the Hutts and all these other criminal organizations. But she's human. I'm like, what? A female, too.
And so when they finally catch up with her and she's like this sharpshooter, sniper type person, once Mando leaves them to go get transport, she convinces this other guy that, the true prize here is Mando.
Right.
Because, I mean, his armor alone could set you up for life. And he's wanted by the guild, the bounty hunter guild. So if you take him out and you hand him over to the guild, you're a shoo-in. Which usually, anytime they set that up, it doesn't work out for the person who is trying to take advantage of it.
But didn't you feel it was kind of filler? It didn't really push the season 4. I felt like these last 2 episodes didn't really push the plot for any.
I would agree with that.
Because both of them, spoilers if you haven't watched it already, both of them die. But then, at the very end of the episode, you see some shadowy figure approach Fennec's body. So who do you think that is? I think that's going to have something to do with the plot.
I don't know.
Because he just takes the baby and leaves. And it's another episode where he basically just did a job to pay for. I don't. He basically didn't get anywhere.
Well, one question I have.
We don't find anything about this. We still don't know anything about this Baby Yoda. We still don't know what his plan is because it seems like he's just hopping from planet to planet. He doesn't have a plan.
So, how many episodes do you think they're going to do of this?
I think there's 8.
So yeah, they're going to have to get to the point.
I mean, they've already shot the whole season, so
they're going to have to get to the point, man, because I was a little disappointed with the 36-minute runtime,
Yeah.
I haven't seen a 30-minute sitcom or series
in a
long time. I mean, if you're going to do 10 episodes or 8 episodes, I feel like you should do 8 one-hour episodes.
They got 8 episodes this season.
Yeah.
So there's not much left. There's not, for them
we're already on 5.
So
that's going to give them 6, 7, and 8 to bring this at least to a point where they can call it the end of a season. And they've got a long way to go, in my opinion, of telling us what we need to know, like who is Yoda or who's Baby Yoda, what's the significance of Baby Yoda. He can't run forever, so there's got to come to some kind of,
I mean, I enjoyed the one-off episodes to a certain extent, but at the same time, I don't think they're doing enough. I kind of feel like they could be like, for a lack of a better comparison, Star Trek. In Star Trek, you would go to these planets every episode, and there'd be some kind of new kind of culture that they would have to interact with, and they would, go through all these new ideas and controversies and paradoxes and all this other stuff. I feel like they can be doing more than that.
Right.
More of that.
Agreed.
Than what they've been doing. All he's pretty much doing is getting these little scrapes for people. I would be interested in just seeing some planets other than Tatooine. We did get this farming planet or whatever it was, but it wasn't that terribly interesting. It could have been Earth for all we know.
Well, and I felt from that planet, because he was like, we're going to go here and we'll be
there was nothing interesting
off the grid.
Yeah, right. There was nothing interesting about the planet itself. There was nothing interesting about the culture. It was basically just some farmers who had a predicament. So I feel like y'all need to get a little bit more creative. Can we explore some culture we've never heard of in Star Wars? Or maybe a race like the calamari or something. How do they live? We haven't seen their home planet in any of the Star Wars movies yet. Well,
I mean,
because I'm assuming they live underwater, right, or something. I don't know, but they did.
There's a lot.
I'm getting impatient.
There's a lot of subject matter to explore for them to go multiple seasons. However, if you don't capture the audience's interest in the first season, all the rest is mute. I mean,
and it's good, but at the same time, it's just like, why are we back in Tatooine?
Well,
It'd be something if he had to go do something with the Hutts. I don't know, something. I didn't feel like this episode was just nothing happened. It didn't move anything forward.
the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, the last two episodes.
So,
and there's actually some more interesting shows out right now, but they've kind of shot themselves in the foot. Have you seen Watchmen yet?
Nope, I haven't.
Watchmen is excellent as far as plot is. If you want to see a show that moves the plot forward every episode, watch that show. The problem with them, I've only done one review, is because I think I told you this. As everybody knows, when I do a review, I take video from the actual episodes and show it, no sound usually, and I'll insert it throughout the video to make it more interesting so you can see it. Fair use laws say you can use a clip from a movie or a television show that's shorter than 30 seconds, which is what I did. But when I uploaded that the first time, they made copyright claims on the video. In fact, it was blocked.
HBO.
Because you get different copyright claims on YouTube. Sometimes you get a copyright claims, they'll let you use the content, but
Not monetized.
you can't monetize it. Sometimes they just block it outright and says you can't use it at all. It'll be blocked worldwide. Well, it was a blocked worldwide type of thing. So I had to go back and I made every clip. I had like 3 or 4 clips. So I made them like 15 seconds. Resubmitted it. Blocked again. 15 seconds. So why would I want to do a review for Watchmen if you're going to block everything?
Which I don't understand.
I'm trying to
because
promote
it's
this show.
Free publicity.
Yeah. So it pretty much got to the point where I couldn't do any clips. I just did still images throughout the video. So this show is excellent, but I cannot promote it like I wanted to. I'm not going to waste my time on it if I can't.
Right, I understand that.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand that wholeheartedly.
So, I don't know. I just feel like HBO and... This is the thing about HBO. When Game of Thrones was on the air, you could pretty much put a freaking whole episode, and I've done it, in your review, and they wouldn't flag it. They didn't care because they're getting a ton of exposure from everybody who was reviewing that show, and they didn't care.
They saw the value in it.
And they saw value in it, and that show, they made so much advertising dollars and subscribers and all that, man.
Well,
so
maybe it's
I don't
got
see
to do
why
with
they're doing.
who's producing.
Yeah, it's probably the production company behind, because they HBO, all these streaming services or studios, they use different production companies, and so different because usually they'll tell you in a copyright claim who the production company is that is blocking it, and it's usually not Netflix or HBO or.
And I also
whatever.
feel that, with stuff like what we do, it helps a show. Game of Thrones allowed so many people to use their content and talk about it, and I don't see Watchmen being as popular. Even though it's a good show, it's probably not going to be as popular because a lot of people haven't heard about it, and nobody can really tell them about it because it gets blocked.
Yeah, but I don't know. So I'm still giving Mandalorian a recommend. I think it should go on your binge list, but I'm kind of concerned. I don't, maybe they just needed some filler episodes because they don't have so much plot. Maybe they're gonna tie it all. I got a feeling that maybe even the next one's gonna be some filler, and maybe they're gonna move the plot forward in the last 2.
And if you'll remember in The Walking Dead, their first pilot season had, I think it was 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And, AMC was very reluctant to cut loose any money and, to make further episodes until they saw what the first season did. This could be the same type of thing what, Disney is doing here, is to see if this is something that
It's sustainable.
And that it's a return on their investment, So if season 1 does well, I see season 2 with more episodes and better budgets so that they can do more with it.
Yeah.
Because that's the reality. In the end of the day, all this is a business, and if it makes business sense, then you see more money coming to it.
I would hope so. I think that's
I don't know what that is.
I think that's one of the cats. But anyway, that's all we got for today. We got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Like to thank my subscribers once again.
Man, 147,000.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
But comment if you got anything to say and ring that bell so you know when we have another video. You got anything else?
Nope. Just comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you when we see you. Thanks for watching.